All right, it's 12, so I'm going to start promptly because we have a nice but busy agenda. I just want to mention, so because we are numerous, I think that about 39 people registered for this event, so it's going to be hard to keep it informal. So what I propose is that, if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them at the end of the talk. And maybe at mid talk, I'll try to ask a couple of questions or address a couple of the questions. So, all right, let's start. So this is our site, our website. Let me go to our presentation there. Go. All right. So today we are here. So first, I'm Claire O'Neill, right? And I am the founder of Earthwise Aware, EWA, and which we name EWA for short. And I just want to mention in a couple of few seconds, who we are, right? So we are focused on biodiversity and how to protect it. And we do that through the means of sharing and bringing biodiversity knowledge and science, ecological ethics, and environmental leadership to the core of organizations and communities and in the daily lives of people. So many people know us through our ecological guides and etiquettes that focus on species, habitat, and describing ways or maybe better ways of conducting our human activities. Some of them know us through our nature lesson plans, but most know us through our co-creative citizen science that is focused on habitat, on biodiversity, and climate studies. And we invite the people to join us and to do science with us and to monitor, our immediate environment at systems level. So that's who we are. And today what I want to do is to invite you first to learn, maybe for some of you, about a very interesting international event called the City Nature Challenge, and which use a very nice little app platform to allow people or to enable people to go outside, to take picture of nature, to learn about nature through this application, and actually also to share their observation on that platform so that it can ultimately also serve science and help with biodiversity and climate sciences. So this is going to be our rough agenda. So for our new members or EWA, we just did that. I just described the EWA in a nutshell, who we are. I want to explain to you in really briefly what is a City Nature Challenge, this nice little international events. I want to brush on nature documentation ethics, how to document, ethically out there, meaning that to take picture, to learn about nature and to be in nature with wildlife and this habitat in mind so as to not disrupt them. And of course, what is interesting is to also know what is at the location. So I'll spend a little bit of time showing you right now what is, for this one, it's the Middlesex Fells and the vicinity. Tomorrow we have one on Somerville or urban areas. So I want to show you a little bit about what's out there right now in that forest. I'll give you a little bit in a nutshell of how to iNat, with a few slides showing you how to use your phone to take pictures and to share with the community. And I'll give you some tips. As I said, because it's a large crowd today, what we'll do is you can ask your question within the chat. I might not have time to answer them during this talk, but I'll make sure to address that through an email, or at the end, I'll have a little bit of time and I can answer some of the questions. Joe is going to try to answer some of them as well on the chat. All right, so I'm not going to play this video. It's a night, should I? Let me try to do that. So it's a 1 minute and 40 seconds video. It's really a cool little video about what is a City Nature Challenge. So I'm going to play it. Joe, if you don't hear it, put a thumb down so that I know. There is a little bit, a few seconds where it's going to be quiet because it's just a screen talking about, the issue of COVID-19 and how it has changed a little bit the challenge this year. So it's coming soon. Good? Yes.
Welcome to the 2020 City Nature Challenge. Our focus as we celebrate Earth Day's 50th anniversary with the world community. Now more than ever, we need to study nature in cities around the globe. We can't fully protect nature on this planet without studying what is living in cities. Using cameras and smartphones, tens of thousands of people will observe wildlife in their own cities from April 24th through April 27th, contributing to an international database of urban wildlife that will be used by scientists and naturalists to help understand nature in our cities and work to make them a better place for humans and wildlife. Now, it's your chance to get involved. Just imagine how many observations we can all make together. Go to citynaturechallenge.org, then take pictures of wildlife and upload them to our global database using iNaturalist or your city's preferred platform. Watch as experts all over the world help to identify your observations. Join the 2020 City Nature Challenge or follow along and see how we can work together to change the world.
There we go. So that's a very short presentation explaining what the challenge is and brushing a little bit on this little platform, which is called iNaturalist. So this challenge is international. It has been happening for 5 years. It's going to be the 5th year. Usually it's a friendly competition where they're trying to do a kind of a survey with people invited to really take as many observations, still ethically, of what they see and upload there. This year, because of what's happening with COVID-19, it's becoming really a true celebration. There is another thing too, and we participate. You know, we give here this webinar, and we have a project on iNaturalist as well, where we collect, you know, pool the data of all the people who wants to join this project, so that we can use this data as well for our own science. So it's going to happen, meaning the record time when you go out there and take many pictures and upload that is going to be between April 24th and April 27th. So that's the record time to put all your observation. Although iNaturalist is available all year long, we use it, you know, every single day in our team. But for this specific event, so the record time is on April 24th, 27th, and then after that, there's going to be a period of time where the community of iNaturalist is going to come and identify all these observations. I'll explain a little bit more this aspect. So very, very cool little natural events. So now, because of what's happening again, COVID-19, so usually there was no restriction about where to go in a sense, but here to not encourage people to travel to places, this is becoming a hyper-focused, hyper-local event where this event invite people to really observe what they have in their immediate environment, such as their backyard, their street. And if you are living at walking distance of the fells, and this is somehow part of your backyard in a sense, then, you know, yes, by all means, right? So while you are out there, please be careful to, of course, to respect, you know, a proper distance. That's very important. As well, by the way, as to follow the regulation or the policies or, you know, the recommendation, let's put it this way, of your city, right? So that's a very, very important thing. So because I'm talking, even if we were out in the city, but we're talking about an environment which is a forest. This is one of the last hub where, you know, wildlife has a chance to, you know, live. So we want to be very cautious. One of the big branding of Earthwise Aware, my organization, is about ethics. We bring ethics in the forefront. So we really thrive in making sure that we minimize disruption, we seek zero impact, and we let wildlife be, right? So concretely what it means is that we keep our distance with wildlife, with one another right now, yes, but with wildlife as well. Being quiet is very important. I brush on that a little bit. And certainly we do not want to divert activities of birds, mammals, everything that is there. So I'm a birder myself. That's how I started all that in a sense, right? In terms of nature documentation, I came from the birds world. And, you know, I've seen many of my fellow birders coming far too close to nests. And right now this is really birthing and breeding season. So we want to be cautious. So, you know, we have to keep a distance. So here, because I'm talking about the fells, I want to mention as well that there is something that is important, and I have seen that in the fells because we do citizen science in the fells. We want to be cautious to really stay on the official trails. We've seen a multiplication of user trails lately, And this is really an important disruption. I think that many do not realize by creating this new trail, right? We cut habitats where, you know, wildlife was sheltering and was hiding from us. So we cut habitat, we create entryway for predator, invasive, etc. So user-created trails, non-official trails are really a big disruption. So let's try to stay on the trails. In general, although it should seem, you know, fairly obvious, but being at a distance means no chasing, interrupting, disturbing, all that, right? No mobbing, like this birders there in our little humorous comic here. We should never cut off. It happened to me once. I was in Canada and I almost cut off, you know, the route between a cub and a mother bear. So that would have been a dangerous situation. What happened is, you know, at the end of a trek, I'm a trekker, I was tired, didn't pay attention anymore. I was not alert, and I was about to clean my boots, you know, down the little river. And suddenly someone who was up the bridge, you know, very quietly said, no, no, no. And I froze. And here, what do I see? I see on my left a cub in a tree. And the mother was about 20 yards away from me, which is far too close. So I had not paid attention. So it's very easy to forget these kind of things. So I was lucky, but we have to be alert. Of course, the fells is less dangerous than some wild parts of Canada, but still. Being slow in general and quiet is important. People do not realize that, but so the fells is an international bird area. There is a lot of breeding. It's a migration spot as well. And there is a lot of breeding and birthing activity, nesting activity by the birds. They are very sensitive to the sound. And now scientifically, we understand, you know, that a noise pollution, and noise pollution being us, you know, being loud, you know, in this kind of environment is very disruptive. So trying to be a little bit quiet, you know, to talk with a low voice would be nice only for our fellow birds and our fellow mammals there. No feeding or baiting. So birders know that there is a big issue with owl, for example, where there has been a lot of baiting by, you know, how do I say that? But immature birder, let's put it this way. We should not do that. We should not disrupt, you know, their activity, their true ways of feeding themselves. This is not something that is really acceptable for taking this big shot, right? So another thing too is often, and I've been faulty of that too, we don't necessarily always pay attention where we walk. I say that, so for example, when you take a picture of a plant, you see a beautiful plant, a beautiful spring ephemeral. Right now, they're all over the place. It's beautiful to see, you know, the bloodroots, the hepatica. I'll show you some pictures. But in order to get to this plant, there is plenty of plants along the way, and we don't pay attention, right? And we walk on these plants. So, you know, again, being really alert about where we are in space is important, and certainly in these beautiful habitats, which are the last refuge in our urban environments. So something that is not really known as well, but now we start to understand scientifically what's going on there as well, is we should be careful with our light. Light pollution is a big problem, and in the city even more. So we want to be careful even here in our city to not necessarily leave white light, you know, all night long, because this white light attracts bugs, and then they become, if we leave it all night long, they become praise for whatever birds come, you know, the morning after. They sit there. This is a form of a disruption or interfering, because while they are there attracted by the light, they're not doing what they are supposed to do. With moths, etc. They don't feed, and usually that's what they do at night. They feed. So we want to be cautious with that. So only when we do hiking in nights or at night, etc., red light is much better. So this is just my little thing. So keep that in mind. I'll provide the slide. I think I've sent an email to everybody so that you can see the general wildlife etiquettes, you know, for observing ethically nature, which is, by the way, so I like to photograph a lot because I like to document. This is also the best way to observe nature in their own habitat, looking, observing, seeing what they are doing when we are not, you know, disrupting. So that's that for the ethics. Before I go into these details there, actually I forgot which order. I changed the order of my slides lately, so I'm a bit, but knowing when you go out there, and certainly for this little challenge, and you want to document, knowing what's out there before you go is something that helps. It enriches the experience. So I told you I'm a birder, and usually when I do a bird trip, what I do before going there in Costa Rica, whatever, etc., I study the birds. Well, of course, I'm a nerd that way, so I study my books, etc., so that when I go there, I have a little bit of sense of what I'm going to see because this is not my familiar environment. But even if it is a familiar environment, there is so much to see, so much new things. So by studying a little bit before, then you are more alert and actually you see so much more. So think in terms of, certainly for the forest, like the fells, that there are more than the plants, or there are more than the birds if you are a birder. They are the mammals. And Joe here has a camera trap because he lives very close to the fells and he has been able to detect very interesting wildlife there. And there is also the pools. There is something like 126 vernal pools in the fells. And we are working with IWA to actually document and certify to help those pools have more protections, right? There are the reptiles. You see that? So Bill here took a picture of a garter snake. They're coming out right now. And then we have so many insects. So they're starting to emerge. Right now, if you look at the forest floor, you could see a lot of these mining bees. We'll talk more about that. And of course, there is the thing that we always forget about, which are the fungi. So think about that, right? So like that, you're going to see more. And actually, you're going to see something that is fantastic because you're going to start understanding things working with each other. People say, oh, I prefer to focus on something. I say, okay, cool. However, seeing as a group, you know, as all these different entities, then you start understanding the interaction, how everything is interdependent. So we'll go into more into that. Before we go into what is in the fells, I want to explain to you iNat in a slightly more detail. So you've heard from the little movie snippet. So that's open science, meaning that all the observation that you can make, the picture that you share on that platform, right, or the recording of the observation, you're going to share them with fellow naturalists, which ultimately are going to or can help science because it's open science and it's a global database, right? So what happens is you take the picture, you record your observation, you upload it on this app and database, and then therefore it is shared, and then people come. So even if you don't know exactly what you took a picture of, there's two things happening. iNaturalist can make suggestions because there is some AI behind the scene, right? Making suggestions of what you might have seen. So you're learning a lot in that moment. But on top of that, the community, so the hundreds of thousands of naturalists on this platform are going to look at your observation and say, and tell you or correct, you know, your identification. So we'll go a little more into that. Very easy to do. So you upload the app, you're going to have a profile with a name or virtual name. Then when you take the picture with your camera, or your camera as well, by the way, or your phone, make sure that you have the GPS location on, although you can obscure if you want to the data, simply because if you do that at home, some people are uncomfortable by having, you know, their home somehow showing as a geolocation. So you can obscure that, no problem. For me, it's not a problem, but I perfectly understand that it's a privacy issue there. And then you're going to try to say what you saw or not. And usually you want to have an evidence. So an evidence is either a picture, but by the way, you can also record a sound. I do that a lot with bird, right? Because birds are tough to take a picture of. So I record the sound, and this is what I upload to iNaturalist. And I say, okay, yesterday, for example, I recorded the sound for 2 days ago of a northern flicker and another one of an eastern towhee in the fells. I was in the fells preparing this little webinar there. So super easy. This is, in 3 slides, you're going to have the gist of it. So this is my screen when, this is iNaturalist, this platform. And when I open my app on my phone, here we are. So that day, I had, you know, up to almost 9,000 observations. I have a little bit more now. And this is what I've observed over the course of 3 years, right? And I've also made a few identifications. So this is my screen. This is where my latest observation, which were actually not in the fells, because we do not have that guy here. This is a beautiful old weaver spider. I was in Florida at the beginning of February or mid-February, and so I was recording my Florida observation there. So, and then you see here, so this is an Android phone, but the iPhone is kind of similar in terms of the user interface. So you click the plus there in order to take your picture. There are 2 ways of doing that. Either you take the picture directly from the app, or me, usually I take picture with my camera, my real camera, or my phone, and then after that I choose the image, certainly when it's on my phone, and I choose a set in order to supply and upload my information. So let's say that I take a picture. So I was in the Fells a couple of weeks ago, and this is a time of spring ephemeral, these herbaceous plants that are coming at the very beginning of spring, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So here I was on the look for a round-lobed hepatica. I know this plant, and a few of our team had seen it before. And so here I'm about to take the picture. So I'm taking a close-up there, take the picture, and boom, actually, this is a slightly different one, a different angle. Usually I take a set, should have done my slide slightly differently, but it's okay. And there you're going to see that, if you click there, you're going to see, and this is the result after I click, right? That this is iNaturalist suggesting that based on the picture, this is what it might be. So see, we're pretty sure it's in this genus, and they're right, it's an hepatica. And actually their first suggestion was the right one in that case. And the reason why it found that, it's probably because of the leaf that I have in another set. So I took my screen in a slightly different order, right? So let me, here, the genus, if they had the genus right, and in this case, they had actually even the species right, to my understanding. So I select the round-lobed hepatica, and actually, usually before that, this is when I do the set. So you see, if you click on that, you're going to be able to add a few other pictures. And this is something that is important. When you take a picture of a plant or anything, try to have different angles, because these different angles are going to focus on different part of the plant or the insect or whatever. And these different parts are actually keys for identification. They're going to ease the identification of the species by the algorithm here, or by the community who is going to also look at this observation to validate or not, right? So, here I have 2, and actually in the final set I have, I think, 4, because I also have the leaf of a flower. This little spring ephemeral is important because it has really round, lobed leaves compared to the sharp lobed hepatica, which is almost identical, but the leaves are different there. You can add notes there. You see that, so that it was able to pull out, this data because I had my GPS on, and actually, this is wrong. This was not in Spring Hill at all. I just noticed that. So it was in the Fells, but you can correct that, by the way. It's not spring. Somerville is super urban, so you're not going to have hepatica like that. But so anyway, you can always correct the location, because it happens sometimes that the geolocation on your phone is off depending on where the towers are, to help this location. And here, what you could do here is you could actually obscure. If you click on that, you would see 3 settings, one which is obscured and another one private. So usually, if there is something, I rarely obscure for my own sake. I don't mind people knowing where I am, right? It doesn't really bother me. However, I obscure in some cases when I want to protect a species, or when it's an endangered species, and in my opinion, because iNaturalist by default is going to obscure the location of endangered species. But when they are only threatened, they don't do that. And for me, some threatened species, I go and obscure, because I don't want to have, a crowd of people going and bothering, let's say, a wood thrush that is nesting at that time, right? So this is when I use, the manual, obscuring of the geolocation. When you have a plant that has been cultivated, or in a pot, or in your garden, etc., you should, if you know that, click captive or cultivated. It's going to make the record casual. Let me go back there 1 second. When you pick obscure, it's fine. The data is going to still be pulled to other databases worldwide to help science. Know that if you make it private, so it's even more restrictive, this data is going to be on iNaturalist, and it's fine, it's totally fine, but it won't serve science because it cannot be pulled to other databases looked by scientists. So I just wanted you to know that. And the reason why I mentioned that is because when something is captive or cultivated, then the data also, this data on iNaturalist is not pulled to these other databases. There are big databases out there, GBIF, etc. who are looking at this data or pull the data that has reached a certain level of credibility, or validation, let's put it this way. A casual doesn't make it. You don't need to worry on project. Usually, certainly for the challenge, the data is pulled automatically. In our case, when we know the people, we pull their data automatically. So on this crowd here, Lisa, Joe, etc. Usually we pull their data because we train them, because they know how to operate within the realm of IWA, so that we can use their data for our own science there. So very cool thing. So 2 more slides about that. So this is the end result on the desktop. So this one, I was in New Hampshire, and see, I took a set, I tried to get a few angles of that bee. I'll show you more. And it's a tricolored bumblebee, right? You can see that it's roughly in this area. I don't think it's endangered, this one. And so you have the metadata about the when it was actually submitted, the location there, and see here it has a research grade, and I'm going to explain there. The research grade comes when the observation is validated by the community. So here, this is me, I'm actually on iNaturalist. And I say, okay, it's a tricolored bumblebee. Someone came into the picture, found the community to say it's a tricolored bumblebee. That means that somehow it reached a 2/3 of validation, and that was enough to give it what's called a research grade, which is somehow a pass, or a valid pass to say, okay, it can be pulled in this other database. That's what it is. Right? So that's that. Here we are. And before we go finally into the fell things, I just want to give you a few more tips and give you also a pointer there. So again, you've seen in the previous thing here, then I took a set, same thing for the hepatica, right? And it's because usually rather than a single picture, if you can, it's better to have a set of pictures that you put as an observation. So here, this is an example for, this is a yellow jacket, aerial yellow jacket, yes. And here, it took me a while, it's on the water hemlock, yeah. And I took a side because I wanted to also have this part. So it's an exercise in patience. It's beautiful because you can really look at this little being living in their own habitat. And then I took the dorsal, see, all these little keys that you have here, this little pattern are important actually to be able to identify these bees, this wasp. And here, what you see here is I took the face mask, the face of the wasp here. Same thing, they might have slightly different little markings and all of that, and you can even see its tongue here. It has its little tongue sticking out, right? And so all these little shots there, I was at a certain distance. I had a good camera, usually shoot with camera, and are keys to help the identification both by the algorithm and by the community. And here we have a really very good guide that our citizen scientists pulled together. I'm going to click on it and see what happens. Oh, okay. This is on our website, and it has really very good examples there. So let me show you. So I'm going back. We're going back about how to take identifiable picture here. Oh, something happened. Oh, here we are. And here we also give some species-specific photography tips there. What do you do with a bird? How do you take a picture of a woody plant? And let me show you, for instance, that little hepatica I was just talking about, right? To show you the full set. And while it's doing that, because we are over the web, so what do you do with trees and shrubs? So often people just take a leaves or a part of the tree. Think about the entire tree, from afar, looking on the leaf if there is a leaf, the twig, the buds, the flower when there are flowers. All these things are important. I want to show you a fungi. While we are at it, look at this one as well. So this is a roundleaf hepatica. So that was, and here, did you see that? I obscured the location. I'll explain to you why. So see, I have the flower. I have the flower inside. Beautiful flower, and you can feel the texture of the, the hairiness of the petal there, and the bracts behind. And here, very important, see, I spent time, I took the picture of the leaf. The leaf is definitely a key here. And then I had, a little bud, something that is opening. I could have actually, I'm missing a picture in my opinion, which is really at the base. I forget that. Often I forget the base of the flower itself, how it comes out of the ground there. The reason why in this case, I decided to obscure its location, it's because we don't have many brown-leaved hepatica in the fells. To my collection, it might be one of the only patches. And it's a patch on the, actually, or two patches, Joe is showing me. So there is a second patch somewhere, I don't know. So there are two patches. There are sensitive little flowers, and actually they are on a trail, which is not a formal trail, right? And that day I saw so many people on that trail, not necessarily for looking for this flower. Actually, they didn't look at that flower at all. They were either on a bike, right, or walking and not paying attention. So I don't want to necessarily to encourage, although you would say that if people are on iNaturalist, maybe they would behave differently. I don't know, but I didn't want to encourage, people to go there to look for these flowers, and I decided to obscure its location to preserve this patch as much as possible. So that's one of the reasons. So here there is, this is actually not the best one in my opinion. I think that Dan has a better one than that. This one was mine. I think this one might be better. Dan is someone from our team, and he likes fungi in general. Yeah, so this one is a good one. So when you look at the mushroom, this is a mushroom, so part of the fungi. So he took a picture of, on the side, because he wanted to really get, the stem, and you see that, the corolla, because these are keys for identification. He took the top of it, right? It still doesn't have, by the way, an identification by the community. Mushroom experts are not quite there yet, and plus it's hard to take a picture of a mushroom or a fungi and to have good identification from picture, but it doesn't matter. We like the record. And then other important things for a mushroom, for instance, is really to try to take the underside, which brings me to another thing. So the underside here is a gill. It's a gilled mushroom. We've seen many mushrooms being uprooted. You don't need to uproot a mushroom to look underneath, because often when you have a little, this little mirror, makeup mirror thing, that's what I use, then if you slide it underneath, you can take a picture and see the underside. And like that, you didn't uproot, that mushroom. You would be surprised, but mushroom fungi are not very well studied in America. We only have 3 of them on the IUCN Red List, which is a list of status, of endangered and not endangered species. And it's not because they are doing well, it's because they are not studied. So I really push for, let's not uproot. There is so many things that we can do to avoid disrupting habitat. A little mirror really does the trick here. Take your mirror, slide it underneath, and like that you can take, or you go on the ground, which is what I do usually. I go, on the ground for that one. I would have done that way. But the mirror is actually easier in a sense. So this is a nice little guide. And we also talk about the mammals, insect. You've seen the aerial yellow jacket here, amphibian and reptiles. So nice little guide. All right. Now, what to expect by location. So this is, we've done this webinar for Fresh Pond. We're doing it for Somerville tomorrow, urban habitat. So today is about the fells. So I prepared, I'm going to reduce that, because I'm going to go to another page where I prepared everything. And I'm going to close that. There we go. Yep, wrong. This one. All right, so where is it? It should be there. I have a bar. You don't see that, but I have a bar that is hiding the top of my screen. Okay. Right now, and actually it really bothers me, so I'm going to try to reduce the screen. 1 second. There we are. So right now here, little tricks for you. This is spring. We are partnered with the National Phenology Network, and this is, a lot of things is happening. A lot of things is happening in the fells right now. There is a map that we look at, and actually we gather data, other kind of data, phenology data, which is a study of cycles on fauna and flora, to the National Phenology Network. We are one of their partners. And they have a fantastic, all this data help them to create this kind of maps, right, to understand what's happening with spring, the state of spring. So in this case, this is a spring leaf index. So I just wanted to make a little mention that things are happening earlier than usual. And actually you can see that. So this is based on 30 years of records. And what it tells you is that spring right now is happening in some regions of the United States up to 20 days earlier than the normal averages. And Massachusetts here, where we are part of this. So, and we've definitely, because we monitor, every day, every week, every year now, we've seen that as well. So a lot of things is happening right now, for good or for bad. The reason why I say for bad as well is because by things happening earlier, there starts to be mismatch between events. When the leaves are coming out, when the insects are coming out, when it becomes food for the birds, etc., etc. So it affects, all level of the food system, for example. So that's a spring leaf index, and that's something that I follow because like that I can see when we need to start monitoring and documenting. Another thing that I wanted to show you, another of my little tricks, and I love this map, is a migration map. So you know that I'm a birder, and birder are really an indicator of things happening, really. Although we have tons of others for the mammals. So here, I'm trying to pinpoint personally when the bird migration will be at its peak, and it's approaching very soon. I bet you it's going to be within a couple of weeks, right? We are in this region there. Things are starting to happen. I've seen Bill, Joe, people, some of our people who are really every day in the fells starting to see some of the spring migration birds there, right? So it's a nice little map to look at. And it also, for me, is a good little segue to talk about, you know, monitoring is so important because we allow to create these kind of maps and tracking what's happening in time. All right, the fells. So these are our umbrella project, and we're going to focus on the fells. So last year during the challenge, the 4-day challenge, by the way, through some events, so we had group events where we were inviting people to document with us during these 4 days, we recorded some 332 species, and we had about 10 observers in the fells specifically, right? Over 953 observation. Okay, so just to point that there was a lot because that's over the course of few hours, not necessarily 4 days, right? We were doing things in other locations. I'm going to close that because I'm going to go there and there. This is what we've recorded with our team since the beginning of April, right? So it's not a day or whatever, it's since the beginning. A lot of things is happening, and we're going to go through you know, a little bit of all that. So let me now, maybe can do that way now so that we have a better screen. Bill is, and Joe is in the fells a lot, are in the fells a lot. This is me actually here. Beautiful little nuthatch. So let's focus by taxa. Remember when I said, you know, when you prepare to go somewhere, think a little bit of, try to get to know what you're going to see a little bit, just to be better prepared, more alert, and see more. So actually, iNaturalist is also a good source for that, that you can go look at our project, or generally, our project, we try to focus on quality as well, and you can filter here. So I'm going to start, what am I going to start with? Yeah, I'm going to start with the mammals. They are hard to see, you might not see them. But I'm curious to see because I haven't looked in ages. Mammals here. What have we recorded so far? Oh, of course, tons of squirrels, many squirrels. Oh, there was a black one. Oh, very nice, melanistic one. Then you have, so squirrels, you're going to see them, but we have deers. We also have coyotes, by the way, in the fells. We have possums, raccoons, fisher. I think that Joe, as I said, has some camera trapping, so he saw some fisher on his camera, so they are there. So you're not necessarily going to see them, but you're going to see some traces. And here, this is typical of, let me open it. Oh, I should have done that in a new window, but that's okay. These are, you know, records of, and actually I didn't do a good job. Ah, yes, because like that, I'm not touching it, but I'm just giving a frame of reference in terms of the size, right? So here you see, I have that, but you have no, well, you have some idea because of the leaf around, and if you know the size of an oak leaf, you have a sense of the size. But I went and often I put a frame of reference so that people, or the identifier, can see roughly the size. So my finger is not touching it, but just on top of it so that there is, you know, this sense of scale there. So white-tailed deer are here. So just to go back on the mammal, I want to tell you a little bit what's out there possibly right now. Right now is breeding, and birthing season. I'm sorry, I'm French, so sometimes I completely forget the words. So what we have in April, so Virginia opossum are here. So this is the breeding season for at least, you know, opossum, cottontails, you know, the rabbits, the chipmunks for sure. The squirrel, the gray squirrel, no, that was a little bit earlier. They're going to have another, you know, period of breeding. Woodchucks, they are there. The northern flying squirrel should be there. I think that actually Joe saw some on one of his camera traps. So they're there. We don't see them, but they're there. Beaver, I have no idea if we have beaver in the fells. Not sure, but muskrat probably we do. Coyotes, it's not their breeding season. They were breeding between January and February, right? So we also have probably, I'm curious, but I would not be surprised that we have foxes, right? Certainly gray foxes passing by. We have no bears, and we have, I'm looking at the list, we have no mountain lion in this area. And in terms of birthing time, the chipmunks again are also birthing, right? The red squirrel, which was for me, I didn't realize that there was an American red squirrel. I didn't know my squirrel until last year. I think it was last year when I saw Bill and Joe, having a record of a red squirrel. They're beautiful. I mean, I'm used to the European red squirrel, but not the American one. Absolutely gorgeous. They are out there and you can even see them, right? So bunch of things happening. So that's on the mammal side. Let me go back and to filter now. So I'm going to go mammals, birds, plants, insect, and brush on the fungi. So let's go to the birds. The birds are becoming very active, right? So this is what we've seen since February, since the beginning of the month. See here, this is what I was mentioning. So the northern flicker, the sound is from afar a little bit. So I'm not surprised that it doesn't get identified very quickly by the community. My eastern towhee, so let me try to play that, was very clear. So the eastern towhee, you could hear him. So you can take that, right? And if you don't know what it is, so I knew what it was, I'm going to play it. It's a little bit shallow. Let me see. It's very faint because with the sound, but it's there. And this is really the definite pitches of the towhee. I don't have good luck in seeing towhees. Usually they take me an effort. I don't know, they camouflage, and for some reason I don't see well, but at least I can, record this observation there. So a lot of birds, we have all the usuals, the white-breasted nuthatch, of course the grackles are out there. The red-winged blackbird came back, a good month ago. Usually the males arrive earlier than the female to prepare, the field for them. Palm warbler starting to pop recently. Bill and Joe have, or even Dan, started to take a lot of pictures of them. Tree swallows, nice shot there. I don't know why it's counting as a bird. Oh, it's because I'm not filtering on the bird, I guess. No, weird. I'm I know why. Because why do I have them in the birds? It's because I forgot to filter on the birds only. I'm like, why do I have the squirrel? Of course, the Canada goose and mallards are there. They were probably there all year long. Here you have the female of the red-winged blackbird. So people often do not know that they look quite differently between the male and the female, right? So this is a female, and this is, let me show you the male here. Downy woodpecker are there. They were there all winter long as well. I have one cross my street in that tree. He wakes me up in the morning. I like that. And usually the teller for the male is this red patch. We might have a better picture of that. Robin are there. They actually, some migrate, some stay here. This is a towhee. So Jennifer, the sound that I got was probably the sound of the towhee that Jennifer saw a day earlier, who was very, didn't hide, nothing like that. So this is a towhee. Beautiful bird, right? Doing his nest. Jennifer took that. Oh, it's a beech tree. See that? Beautiful. Beautiful bird. Gorgeous. This is the male of the red-winged blackbird with this little, I don't know, you call that in English, epaulette here. Beautiful there. And then the female is here. Very inconspicuous. Very nice. Very nice picture there. All right. So a lot of birds happening, and more are going to happen. We have chipping sparrows there, right? Of course, you have your usual house sparrows. Here, the great blue heron. So I don't know where this one was taken. I could go and look, right? But at Long Pond, for example, regularly you have a great blue heron in that pond. A beautiful here, pileated woodpecker. So Bill and Joe have spotted this pileated woodpecker nest, right? And they have been very active. Let me open that. It's a gorgeous, it's a magnificent woodpecker, and it's a big one as well. Very nice picture. Oh, I'm trying to have, oh, I wish that I had something bigger, but very nice details there. There we go. Oh, here we are. Same one. All right. Let me close a few windows so that that's for the birds. And then you have the ducks, by the way. So if you go at some areas of the fells where you have water bodies, certainly on Spot Pond, you're going to see, this one might have been, I don't know where it was, but we have some, I've seen some as well as Long Pond, but Spot Pond, you're going to see some shorebirds. I think, by the way, on top of a Spot Pond, I think that Joe and Bill saw some bald eagle passing through as well. So tons of birds. It's really very good areas for birds, the fells. They're a little bit harder because it's in the forest, but right now is the time because you do not have the leaves on the trees, right? Just want to remind you again that the fells is an international bird area, so it's also a stopover for a lot of birds, so it's prime time right now. Oh, there's even a loon here. So now, usually, with the birds, often I pair that with insect, right? Because the reason in plants, right? The reason that they come is also because spring is coming and their food source is coming out. So we're going to go to, I'm going to go to the insect first, although there's not that many. I'm going to pull both the insect and the spiders. Oops, all right, now. I was yesterday, we are monitoring that. This is an eastern tent caterpillar. It's actually a native insect from America, North America. But they're also considered a pest. They have a tendency to defoliate, solely ornamental trees, but defoliate trees. Although in the area where we monitor them, and everywhere, when they defoliate, still the tree can come back. There. Some flies, but the thing that is really cool, beetles are coming back as well. This is all this eastern tent caterpillar. This is a very cool beetle. And the bees there, they are quite fantastic. I'm paying more attention to the bees lately. So this is one of the nomad bees. So we have mining bees. And so look down, look on the forest floor. You're going to see a lot of activities between the spiders and actually those mining, bees. So let me show you that. I want to show you that too because it's a beautiful one. It's beetles. Beetles are coming, and this one was quite interesting. Dan caught this one. Right. Do I have nomad bee, golden, and I wanted to see that quickly. So things are happening as well as things are about to happen. This is we have Chinese mantis. Of course, they are not from here, but this is their egg case. We have bad stuff happening as well. So the egg case here, you're going to see them really stuck on goldenrod, on stems of old plants from last year. They're going to pop out. Actually, I don't know when, but probably very soon. So this is one of the head case there. Very distinctive now. Now I see them everywhere. I look for them. I literally go and look for them. So this one is a beautiful beetle. I don't think I've ever seen that myself. See, so people don't realize, but beetles are somehow important incidental pollinators, right? They carry pollinators incidentally from flowers to flowers. There. And then it's a shot, so it's a little bit blurry. I mean, it's hard to take a picture of these guys. I think Dan had its other little camera, so he had more details. But look at the surface of the wing of that beetle here. And look at, I think it's fantastic to see, that, right? This antenna. It's just a magnificent beetle there. I want to see it. So, and then we have, again, all these bees. So again, it's hard because, we are zoomed in fully, but this is one of these little bees that you see on the forest floor with distinctive marks. Gorgeous little bees there. Okay. Let me see. Oh, I have this thing that is in the way. How can I have a bar in the top which keeps popping, and I haven't figured out how to move it without having all that. So it moves me. Observation. So things are happening. They are getting out. The bees are going out. So look on the floor. That's my thing. And also know that there is some others, such that people don't realize that, but the hemlock have big trouble in our areas. This is a woolly adelgid. It's a little aphid. It sucks really the life out of hemlock. So they are, dying. I don't think there is any treatment for that that is not inexpensive. So it's, but this is, manifestation of one of the insects. Many insects are good, few are bad. And so invasive species, the importance of invasive species in terms of the detriment that they can do, and some of the pests is really quite something. Insect. So the insect come, of course, because of all, I just want to quickly finish with that, because of all the plants. And the plants right now, this is a perfect time to look at the spring ephemeral and the trees and deciduous herbaceous plants that are coming to life. So the plants are here. Right, here we are. See, so a lot of things is blooming out. If you look on the ground, and actually if you really look at all the different species, you're going to see a lot. I think that fresh pond, I basically, in a couple of hours, I was documenting about 60 species the other day, something like that. So, and you start to create, you have an eye for what is different, right? So, except for this one, I keep being confused by this one because I want to think it's a jewelweed, and it is, but there is another one that look alike, I forgot what it is. So usually I leave him high in the taxonomy when I say what it is. Often I say it's a dicot or flowering plant. So things are popping, right? Things are popping, as well as moss, by the way. I don't have, the moss might be here. Look at that. I love this one. I'm going to open that. The low bush blueberry, the Fells, has tons of blueberries and all these kind of berry things. And if you look very closely at the definition of all the little flowers, it's just beautiful. Little anecdotes. So for instance, between the low bush and the high bush blueberry and the pollinators, sometimes because it can be hard to distinguish because of the height, it's a matter of height. But sometimes the way that the flower is pollinated can tell you what it is. And I forgot exactly, but for example, for the high bush blueberry, let me close a few things here so that I can recognize where I am. Number B. I thought I opened that. I didn't. And I want to open another one somewhere here. Beautiful. So for the high bush blueberry, for instance, if you see in the flower a little cut, a little slit, I think it's the term, on the side, well, it might be due to a bee, one of the bumblebee, and because the flower is slightly maybe bigger, then it goes and cuts through the flowers in order to get to the nectar there, the pollen there. So this is a low bush blueberry. Look at the beautiful flower here. Right. It's so delicate, right? So delicate. Looking at nature, it's fantastic to look at the details and to get closer and closer and to realize the intricate beauty of all these little flowers and things that we take for granted, right? So this is a low bush blueberry, and that you see that. Oh, I thought I haven't done a good job here. I know it's a low bush blueberry, so that's why I didn't pay, really made much effort. But if I wanted to do a good documentation of this low bush blueberry, I should have the entire shrub, and I don't have it here, right? I want to show you that moss. I was completely smitten by that moss yesterday. I suppose it's a moss, right? I don't know my moss very well. That's a whole different realm. But look at the beauty. So I was really, so you have the sense of the scale here, right? So when you go very close, and you can do that with a phone, and some attachments such as a magnifying, glass, then you can see, look at this little detail. So the beauty of the microcosmos there is something quite marvelous. So a lot of, so I just want to go back. So a lot of plants, the oaks are coming. So the oaks have, many oaks have mixed buds. So I suspect this one, the flowers are going to come very soon. The maple already, the flowers come before the leaf, and the red maple already did, as well as the Norway maple, which is an invasive, already did flower, right? So this is a flower for a Norway maple. But the thing right now, and certainly this weekend, if you go for the challenge and have all your observation, look at this ephemeral. So these are bloodroots. This is a beautiful little flower, and I'm going to give you a tiny anecdote about it. Right. This is a flower actually that doesn't have nectar, but just pollen, interestingly. But look, this, it closes at night, it closes with the temperature and the cloudiness, because it tries to really be intelligent in terms of attracting its pollinator when the pollinator out there. And pollinator insects usually come out, within a specific range of temperature, right? So for the bees, or it might be 55 Fahrenheit, in Celsius would be something around 30 degrees or something like that, up. right? So when there is less chance of having the pollinator, going and spreading, its pollen, then it closes. As well as at night, usually the leaf itself kind of encloses around the stem. I don't think if I have one, see that? Around the stem, it completely encloses it. I don't know if I see, it's around it and then it opens during the day. And somehow it kind of keeps temperature or create a little, micro heated area there and protect the flower. The bloodroot is a beautiful little flower. So hepatica, bloodroot, look for them. I think that spring beauty out there, I don't think I have one. I don't know, it must be in the fells as well. But a lot to look at on the forest floor. So I'm not going to go to the fungus, but you know now where to go on iNaturalist in general, right? It's very easy because you can filter by all this little filtering criteria. You can go by a place, you can go by a region, etc., and see what's out there. So let me go back to my presentation, if I find it. Oh, I know, it's behind that. There we go. It must be there to see what I have left there for you. Okay, that's for maybe tomorrow. We have, by the way, we have a live demo where we go into the depths of iNaturalist that we did last Friday. So if you want to see that, it's somewhere on our site. It's on our iNaturalist webpage there. This is a nice quote. I want to almost finish with that. This is something, I like this man a lot. Personally, I like his quote a lot, which is, every one of us can be a naturalist out there, and we invite you to be naturalists only to go this weekend, or actually to go all year long, or even to join us and help do science, in the fells if you are familiar with the fells. We do really cool things about, vernal pool. We monitor all the insects. We monitor the phenology, meaning what happens on the trees. We have different sites. We're creating a very nice community of very close people. It's becoming kind of a family somehow. So it's really nice. And we are doing science together. We had our first report, citizen science report last year, which was very well received, from all angles, from the citizen scientists who really did it with me. I did the first shot because I'm a statistician originally. So I wanted to bring the data out there. I'm a data specialist. So they help so much in the coming of this report, and they do so much together. So, but also our partners, as well as our platform partners, such as National Phenology Network, etc., recognized us. So that's really cool. So this is our model of citizen science. Really, it's about advancing biodiversity and climate research with you, with naturalists in the world and here in this area. And it's really, for me, I'm really a very strong advocate of giving science back to the people. And so, so that we have a matter of choice, and we have informed decision, and we can influence what's around us. It's very easy. So if you want to, this is our program here. So I created a nice little QR code, but this is more or less what we have here. We are on by the way, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and all this wonderful little social media, so you can follow us there too. So let me see briefly, where is when you want it, it's not coming. If there is some chat there, I don't see you, Joe. I'm going to unmute you. I'm unmuting Joe, who was, hey Joe, so you're unmuted. Did you see something on the chat that I need to answer? Right now? Yeah?
Nope.
No, okay, so the chat has been more or less answered, so that's good. If people wants to, I'm going to unmute everybody, but you can mute yourself back because no, actually you can unmute yourself. I didn't block everybody. If someone has a question now, just go ahead, ask me. No? All right.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed it. Excellent.
You want to explain how you can follow people on iNaturalist as well, Claire?
Repeat that? Oh, yes. Okay. So if you want to follow people on iNaturalist, okay, last little thing.
What's around?
Yeah. So first, if you want to follow what's happening in the fells through our team, here we are again. I have this bar that is annoying me. You don't see it, but I'm seeing it, and it's just each time blocking my tabs there. So this is our, actually, I'm going to send that to you through the chat window so that you see it. That makes sense. Oh, I know, I wanted to do that and I forgot. Where is the chat? Death by technology, right? When you have two screens, for desktop, and I cannot find the chat. Where is the chat? Where is the chat? The chat disappeared from, oh, here. Here we
Bottom
go.
screen? Maybe.
I guess that's funny. I'm not finding my chat. I don't have that on the bottom screen. Is it hidden behind something?
Scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen. It should pop up.
Yeah, if you hover over the bottom, maybe.
No, not for me. Huh.
Is it the Zoom screen?
I see on the bar that I have the chat. I click on it, and it's not popping anywhere. That's okay. What I will do is I will send that through the people who registered, because I have your emails through the Eventbrite, and I send you different links so that you have that for the records. So anyway, so I send you that, the biodiversity project, so that actually you can see that the project for the Fells is here, right? If you click on that, you can see the records that we've done specifically for the Fells, right? You can definitely join. So here, instead of members, I think that because I am in, I signed in, but you would see a join here, right? And please join this this project, so that I can know about you, we can know about you. Dan is also a co-leader of this project, and we can add you to the pool of people, the pool of observers, right? We restrict our project simply because we want to have a chance to help the people to take better observation, good observation. So we want to have this kind of quality of relationship with the people, so that we also have a quality translating the quality of the data, right? If you wanted to follow someone, so here you can see, so I'm a little bit of an iNaturalist, right? And Bill and Joe is here, right? And Dalian, that's Dan. Laura is here. If you wanted to follow someone, so I think I followed everyone, but if you wanted to follow, you can click on that person. So it's me here. And I think that, actually, I don't want to do that for myself, but because I'm not going to be able to follow myself, right? But let's say that I'm not following Jonathan. That's Jonathan. Then I could follow him here. See? Here. That's that. Is it what you meant, Joe, about how to follow someone and how to follow?
Yeah, you can see what they're observing and what's out and about at that particular time.
I'm very proud of what we do at the Fells. We love the Fells. We're really Fells lovers there. And I want to show you a little bit the stats that we have. iNaturalist provide nice statistics out of the box, right? So again, that's our biodiversity project. We have several other projects with other communities. And if you go to the Fells here, so you can see that we have about 9,000 observation, okay, and over almost 1,500 species, different species. So that's all taxa combined there. If you look at the stats, we have quite stunning photographers as well. If you look at the stats, right, we have a good, how do you say that, record of research grade, although people are hooked by, oh, I want a research grade. Some species, some groups, right, some genuses or some families of species are very hard to identify to the species, and it's okay. We're also helping there anyway, right? For example, I was in Mongolia, and so it also depends of what is the history of the country with respect to the observation. I was in Mongolia a few years back doing some conservation work over there, and it was a brand new world. I had no idea of what I was looking. What looked like a plant was a moss, what was a moss was something else. So I made so many mistakes. And the mistake stayed for a long time on that platform because there was no history of identification in the Mongolia area. In the United States, there are a lot of people out there, right, who know a lot. So that's great because the community can come together, refine identification, help each other. You cannot imagine, for me, I'm sure that Joe would say the same thing, the pace at which we have improved our identification skills and the pace at which also we've learned so much about our ecosystem. This is a fun, engaging platform for that, for the, the self-benefit of learning about nature and, understanding more, or understanding also that we don't know much and we want to know more and we need to know more in order to protect that nature. So that's that. Another question, another thing?
I had one question.
Yeah.
Is EWA a part of iNaturalist? I'm just trying to find, do I get to EWA directly, or do I go through iNaturalist again?
You can go to iNaturalist on its own. iNaturalist is its own
Yeah.
thing. iNaturalist is a platform that we use for EWA. There are tons of other organizations out there.
Yeah, so what I'm asking is I can go to EWA direct, and that takes me to this site
Yes.
on the screen. Okay.
Some parts of, if you go to EWA, so this is our website here, by the way. There, it's just our website. But if you go to the, I send a link to everybody anyway. If you go to the citizen science, you have the hook towards this iNaturalist project that we have specifically there.
Okay.
Because we're using several platforms. We use iNaturalist for recording biodiversity. We use Nature's Notebook, which is, the tools from the National Phenology Network to record phenology. We use different kind of platform for different purposes, right? So I'll send a link to the different, things there. We also
so
have,
this gets me to the iNaturalist.
yes, yeah.
Right, okay.
And then we also have other webinars, right, coming. We have actually one that might be of interest, which pertains to the fells, by the way. This is this one, the urban insect. So we've done, a survey of arthropod last year in 4 different locations, one of them being at the fells. And by the way, our team, let's me be not pretentious, but proud. We earned, how do you say that? The recognition of the partner that we use, the partner tool that we use, because we had over 55 sites nationally. We had the highest record of counts of caterpillars, for example. So we're very proud because we're very diligent. We do things, we have an attention to details as well as understand the habitat. So cool things happening, and we wanted to share with the different communities from fresh pond, fells, etc. about this kind of result. And we'll show that on April 30th, which is next week. So this is on Even Bright, and we have, as I said, we also have our different platform, social media platform where we are active, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, because everybody likes pictures and this kind of things. I think that's all that I have for you right now.
Claire?
Yeah.
There's a question on the chat about is it appropriate to mention the poop mapping project to recruit some more volunteers during the
Totally, it's totally fine. But so let me show you that.
I figured it was fine, but
it's fine. However, so when we started to create the poop mapping project, so we have different projects, biodiversity, the insect, the phenology, vernal pool, etc., etc. And then we have another project that we started, which is called the dog poop mapping project. And it started because of the fells, by the way. We spend so much time at the fells, and we see, so this is our ecological studies, all the thing that we do here, right? And we are going to start an invasive species patrol in terms of scientific documentation, not just a removal, some other, the Friends of the Fells. I'm also a board member of the Friends of the Fells, are very active, on the invasive, control that way. And with IWA, because we are a partner of the Friends of the Fells, we want to bring a scientific documentation into the picture. So that's the invasive. The poop map is a very interesting project, which actually is getting a little bit of momentum, or interest, let's put it this way. So here we are. We spend so much time in the fells, and we see so many bags of poop, so many poop as well unbagged, right? That we decided, because we love data, we say, how about we start recording about that? And at the very beginning, we're thinking, do we use iNaturalist? And I decided not to. It's not a good use of iNaturalist. And it would, we don't want to mix the two things, right? It's about biological pollution. And so I started to investigate a little bit, how can we do that in a way also that could engage, our communities and was a little bit more lighthearted, entry. So we're using a map, we're using a Google map. And here, let me show that to you here. We are definitely looking for people to help us with that map, when they are in the fells enough so that they can share with us their picture, not through iNaturalist, but through a different kind of protocol where we share a Google photo album, and then we can clean the data, make sure that everything is fine, and then we populate that map. I was trying to find something that was a little bit less cumbersome for me, because I'm the one cleaning the data for now. We don't necessarily have a volunteer yet for that. But there is nothing out there that had the data quality that I wanted. I'm all about data quality. So here, what we want to do as well, right, is that, so we're playing a little bit, trying to make the things a little bit lighter. So this is a Christmas poop. So that's the poop that we actually collected in terms of picture in December, when we were more or less starting this project. And then, you know, for each month, we have a slightly different poop emoji. What we want to do when we can run campaigns as group again in the Fells and be together in the Fells is we want to do a few campaigns where we do a systematic, you know, transect like through the main trails of, you know, taking picture, and so that we have a better view, because here it's opportunistic. It's called opportunistic data. The people, our close members, send that to us. But we want to do that is something more systematic to have a better representation at different time of what's out there in terms of poop, right, dog poop. And people have asked me, well, what does it have to do with science, right? And people also ask me, Claire, are you trying to shame people? Or I said, it's not my first intention, but it's important that people understand the problem as well, right? That's why we have a little bit of a lighter front to all this issue. But the thing is, we have no base data. And when we start establishing this base map, then that's when, you know, pollution testing can take place. Because you can see, you know, then high density, potential high densities. And then you can see it's close to a pond. How does it in fact affect this pond compared to other water bodies where it's less, you know, in the way, although maybe we haven't been there, period, right? So then you can start to do water testing, soil testing, and you start to have a better picture on the implication of the pollution, right, on this water, you know, this watershed in general, this waterways, right? So not to iNaturalist, but definitely if you go on our site, I'll give you the link, you know, to this program, to say to me, hey, Claire, I want to be part of the Google shared album, etc., so that we can have, you know, this picture there as well, and I'll be glad to have you. Did I answer the question in a long way? All right. Other question? Cool. We do really cool stuff. I'm very proud of what we are doing. See here, you can see, I need to let you go, but phenology, insect and pollinator survey, mapping, this is what I just showed you. Of course, we do bird monitoring that comes for free with eBird. Ecological community assessments, this is, you know, really taking, getting or studying specific ecologic plant community, etc., over time, invasive species patrol, etc. So we do a lot of things, and these are our different area. the Fells is the one that you might be the most interested in. Cool group, if I must say so. So that's it. That's all that I have. I'll send an email very soon, so within the day. So you'll have all the links. I thank you so much for your time. That was fun to have you all there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I've seen you. See you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Bye, Chris. Thank you, Chris.